Welcome to the Black Belt Business Podcast. My name is Matthew Brenner, and today I am with Mike Chat. And I'm really excited because Mike, it was actually a poster on my wall that I had autographed for many years growing up doing martial arts. And he visited my school when I was a kid and did a seminar, and I got a signed poster. And I'm pretty sure it's still in my childhood bedroom. And I meant to,
Mm.
I'm going to look after this. I'm gonna ask my little brother who lives there now. He's like 18, but I'm going to ask him. I mean, as far as I remember, it's next to my 50 Cent and Eminem poster. Okay. Now, obviously, yours is a lot cooler. I mean, theirs isn't signed,
Of
autographed, but
course, of
yeah,
course,
but yours
yes.
obviously is like one level up, than 50 Cent. But yeah, so he's really, really impactful in the martial arts industry. But I'm going to let you talk a little bit about your background, your history, and not only the martial arts industry, also acting and XMA and your school. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Wow, well that's a lot to cover all in a little
Yeah.
intro, but yeah, I've been in the martial arts industry for a minute. And way back when I met your brother and came to your school and I was introduced to the branding of the Asa shark,
Yeah.
that's what stood out in my mind is that you guys had branding and there was a mascot, so to say, and a really cool logo and this theme and the energy that came out of that. So number one, I love that. I'll never forget it. I have the Asa shark. It's either a sticker or a patch. I'm not sure which one, but I have it somewhere. So I have a collection of, yeah,
In the
I
junk
have a
drawer somewhere.
collection.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Well, it's in a box. It's in a, nicely organized. It's just a bunch of memorabilia back from the day, with a bunch of my medals and tours from seminars that I did. So I still have that. And, the fact that you have a poster, it's signed. I love that because, so many people now, fast forward a few decades, so many people have come and gone. They're not in the martial arts industry like we are, right? Like they didn't become an instructor, open up a school and stay in it 20, 30 years or more. They came and went, they trained, maybe they competed, and then, something happened in their life, whether it was a breakup, a divorce, a failed business, and they needed something to kind of like fill this void and to anchor themselves. And so many of these people wound up coming back to martial arts because that was the one thing that they did when they were younger that gave them so much confidence. They had so much support. They just remember this feeling. And this is what I talk about all the time is that when the world is spinning and you're in overwhelm and chaos and there's uncertainty, then you have to have that pole, that flagpole that you can just grab onto to ground yourself. And for many people, it's martial arts. So I love the fact that you say that you probably even still have it up on your wall, but the fact that it lived on your wall for even a little bit of time, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, I started martial arts because I watched kung fu movies on TV with my dad during Samurai Sunday. Many people who have heard me speak, know this story. But I just wanted to do what they did. I wanted to be on TV. I wanted to be in a film, fly through the air and do all the moves and fight with weapons, for like 30 seconds and then land in cool poses, right? So fast forward to then competing. I did that. I wanted to do entertainment. I got into that. And, eventually I did open up my school and we can go back and talk about any of these particulars. But, the big transitions were, I was the student learning from the instructor and my mentor, Sensei Sharky, and growing up in the martial art community, being supported by so many different people. Then it became all about myself, defining myself as a world champion competitor and just being super selfish and aggressive towards my own goals. Then win my titles and decide, okay, I'm done. Now it's about my students. And another one of my mentors, Grandmaster Clark from the ATA, he told me, he goes, you're in a very selfish period of your life. I'm like, I'm not selfish. He's like, you're extremely selfish. And he would talk about, everything that I do is focused on me. Nobody else. I wake up, I need to eat, I need to train, I need to focus on me, my development, my choreography, my turnouts, my travels. And there wasn't any room for anybody else but me. And he was true. And he was right. It was true. I just didn't see it like that. And he said, the moment you are done, like truly done competing, then your focus will turn towards your students. Cause I already had a team at that time. And I was training other kids that were coming up and trying to do what I wanted to do, or I did. And so then that's exactly what happened. And then I just poured my heart and soul into these kids that now have, they've graced Hollywood as well, and some of the top DC Marvel stunt doubles actors. I mean, they're doubling many of the actors, and I mean, doing so many different levels of stunts and fight choreography on Cobra Kai and other major, motion pictures and Hollywood projects. It's awesome. So these were the kids that I trained that then competed, won their titles, and they trained other people, and here we are.
Hmm.
So transition to, after I ran a school for 10 years, the XMA World Headquarters, created my program, traveled the world teaching instructors and helping people to bridge the gap between XMA extreme martial arts with the performing arts, to then partnering with Grandmaster von Schmeling and bringing in the life skills and creating leadership programs for the ATA and the industry. Then, you know, it was time to then move on. I did that. I felt like I had accomplished what I could, but the martial arts industry is still such a very niche industry, and I wanted to reach the masses, and I couldn't do that. I felt like I was limited, and doing more programming wasn't going to help the industry in the moment. I felt like I needed to go outside. I had a wider window and landscape to work with when it came to entertainment projects. And from there, I could really create some positive impact in a different way. And then those who are working in the martial arts industry, they're doing a great job. And I commend all of them. Many of them are my close friends. And for me, I wanted to tell stories. I wanted to do it in a different way and really have powerful impact. And I know we've already talked about like what resonates with people in terms of story versus stats and just, data. So that was really where it was at for me. And that's what I'm doing. So I'm very blessed. Co-producing a project with David Leitch and Kelly McCormick at 87 North. They're known for the first John Wick. David did the directing with Chad Stahelski, another previous student of mine. I trained them prior to doubling Keanu Reeves and Brad Pitt and Matt Damon. Before Matrix, before the Bourne movies, Mr. and Mrs. Smith. Fast forward, now they're directors, and now I'm working with David and Kelly. They went on to do Deadpool 2, Hobbs and Shaw, Atomic Blonde, Bullet Train, now Fall Guy, and many, many more. It's exciting times. I'm loving what I'm doing. Heavy development on several different projects. So, as we get them off and running into production and out the door, then, we'll be able to create more impact and help more people and really inspire the next generation on all levels, not just in martial arts, but storytellers and people that want to do good in the world out there. So that brings us to today. Back to you.
So is your school still around? The school that you had for 10 years?
No, so I wound up selling the headquarters business. I was partnered with Grandmaster von Schmeling of Victory Martial Arts the last 4 years. And then we sold it 2 years prior to the pandemic to my program director. And then it wound up closing down at the beginning of the pandemic. Thank goodness, because many people who they kept trying to hang on here in California, they went from PPP loan to, additional loans, thinking that it was going to turn around, and it just didn't. We had to deal with shutdown after shutdown. Many people couldn't pivot, and then they wound up finding themselves, as further and further into debt. And then, the option was either now try and dig a hole, dig out of the hole, right, that they were in, or they closed down. So it was a good thing, shutting down and not continuing, because in hindsight, it would have been a much more devastating blow if they would have continued. So,
but you were already out.
That was okay.
You already sold anyway. Like at that point,
yeah. It was about a year and a half to 2 years before the pandemic hit. So
okay.
I was out, but I was still helping to consult for the school. That was part of the transition. So
yeah. So you've gone through a lot of different phases, because obviously you were a student for a while, and then also competitor, and then running your school. And then XMA was also like a brand, right? For extreme martial arts. Yeah, it still is. Okay. Yeah. So a brand of martial arts to make it like, I guess, I don't know how, maybe you probably have a better way to describe it, but like cool, like extreme martial arts, right? Like things are going to be flashy and cool on screen to tell really cool stories. Right.
Right.
So, and then obviously now acting and film. So when you think about yourself and your identity, do you think of yourself as a martial artist? Do you think of yourself as a teacher, as an actor, as a business person? Like, what's the first thing that comes to mind when you think of this might have changed over time, but like, what
Mhm.
do you think of yourself as now?
The first word that comes to mind, because I'm transitioning and still, I don't have one primary focus, I have two. But I think of myself as a creator more than anything. Do I guide and mentor people and consult for people? Absolutely. Do I love performing? Yes. I'm not trying to pursue acting right now. Will I get in front of the camera again? Absolutely, for sure. But producing TV film projects is my number one, at the same time as consulting. And the consulting, it has been an evolution of my teaching. So do I still teach? Yes, my wife and I teach a class. Uh, for actors, stunt professionals, and stunt actors at 87 North Productions inside the production facility. We basically moved our class for entertainment people into the facility. David Leitch wanted, when we first opened the facility a couple years ago, he wanted to bring in that martial art training energy into the facility because that's where all his execs and interns and studio people are. So he wanted to have that part of the facility, and the heart of the facility, if you go on Instagram and you look it up, it is an old renovated church, and in the center of the entire building is the training floor. It is the highlight,
Mm.
and that's where all of the great action design comes from. Ideas and development of character come out of this action design, and then 87 North is known for iconic characters and great action, and put it together, and that's the magic formula. So that's where that happens. So I still teach every Monday, Wednesday, every Tuesday. I get on, and for our consulting clients, we've got a success starter program, and I'm mentoring them in the business. Many of them are not entertainment professionals. There's photographers, there's studio executives. It's just people that want to go to the next level, or they want to start something new, or they want to get started, right? So, success starter is like whatever level you're at. If you want to go to the next level, you got to start, right? And most people have trouble starting. From there, right? Once you get started, gain momentum, and you have a foundation, you've got strategy and a focus, and you know what to execute, then many people can take it from there, and other people continue on. But I do a few things, not many anymore. I do a few things, but in the end, it's really about creating something. And I love to create that spark in people where they believe in themselves, and they really understand what they're capable of, that they have the potential, that they're good enough, that they have the confidence to move forward and the courage to take risks, right? And so whether that's creating a story, or creating the spark in somebody, or creating an opportunity for somebody, or myself, my family, right? Then creating is what I've always done. I always took things like ideas and turned them into something. I did that with the XMA program. Nobody ever did it. I did it. Nobody ever had cool products. I did it, right? I did it even before I started the partnership with Century over 20 years ago. I had a parent come to me, and Ed Allure, if you're listening, Ed, I appreciate that. He came to me, he's like, hey, I've got a way to make these commas like shiny and modern. Would you be interested? I was like, yeah. He's like, yeah, there's this process called, gold plating or silver plating, and, it's anodized and whatever. He went through all the technical jargon. I was like, yes, yes. And like, oh, okay, we'll do a split, and I'll make them and you sell them, and we'll both sell them, and it'll be great. And it was fantastic till he didn't do it anymore. So that's where I feel like creator is probably the appropriate term for me. And then, of course,
Mm.
you ask anybody else, they're going to have their own version of what they see me as, but I feel like that's probably it.
So you're coaching people. You're almost like a flexible business coach where you can help people who want to get into stunt doubling or stunt acting, but also people who just want to grow their business. Is that what you're saying? I'm not really clear on that.
Yeah. Yeah. So here's what it is. And I had to figure this out. I'm working with a team of people that are, doing some testing, and they want to help me take what I'm doing to the masses. And so we're in the testing phase. But basically, when I had to think about, well, what is it that I actually do? Right? Am I a business coach? Not really. But I know a lot about business, but I'm not the guy who trained, hundreds of people to become millionaires. What I've realized is that I have a gift to help people see what they do not see in themselves. My saying is always, if you could only see what I see. And it's not just what I see, but it's what I sense and what I feel. And this is where I feel like, and most people in a position like mine, they feel like they just like, it just comes to them. And it's like, I'm just the channel, from wherever in the universe or higher power it is that it comes from. And I just say what I see and feel. And I have this ability to help pinpoint the things that are holding people back and then structure it in a simple step by step strategy, so this way they can execute, so they don't get so overwhelmed. Obviously mental health is a big topic today, but stress and anxiety it's a huge factor when it comes to aging, depression, illness. And so understanding what it is about people that prevents them from moving forward, right? Typically it all comes down to fear of something, but exactly what is it for them? And then what are the actionable steps? People typically will say, well, I know these are the things that I need to do, right? Like, what are the main two problems in humanity? Not knowing what you want, or knowing what you want, not knowing how to get it. But simple things. I want to get stronger. I want to lose weight. I want to gain weight. I want to be smarter, and I want to be educated and go after this job or position. People already know what to do to lose weight and to get in shape or be more healthy. They just can't do it. They don't have the discipline to do it. But it's not just discipline. There's so many factors that come into play that prevent us from being able to do things. So what I tell people is that I help people achieve that one thing that stands in their way from achieving everything else that they want. What does that mean? If you think about it, many people say, well, if I could just stop doing this, I could do all that other stuff, right? Or if I could just figure out this one missing piece, I'd be a millionaire. I could do it. I could kill it, right? If I could just focus and not get distracted by my phone, I would be so productive. People have these things that are so difficult to overcome. That's why it's so talked about. It's always, some of the top trending topics on social media. And so that's what I'm really, really good at. And typically, and this is why, business is business. So I don't need to know everything about your business, but I know a lot about people. And just like training someone to a world championship level, right? Or having them break into Hollywood, ultimately you have to have a strong foundation. There's got to be a baseline. Then each level you go to, there's always another level beyond that. And once you reach those higher levels, you're just with a bunch more people, right? So ultimately you got to find ways to stand out. That's where my creativity comes in. The creator part of me is able to see things that people don't see. And when you look at an industry, when you look at a group or a company, then you just see patterns. And here's where the majority of people are. You need to find a way to stand out, where here's several things that you can do to stand out that are different, right? We do this in storytelling. We do this in stunts and martial art fight choreography. It's like, okay, a punch is a punch, right? But how many different ways are there to throw a punch? Well, it's not unlimited, right? There's only so many types of punches. But the way you implement it into storytelling, now that can be unlimited. And you can always find different ways to do it, different timing, different, subtext, different intent, different, you can change just one little thing about a punch, right? So instead of throwing the punch, you go, ha, and then throw the punch, right? Now you could hold it for 2 more seconds. You could hold it for half a second. You can punch and then twist and follow, like, I don't know if you can see that, like twist and
Yeah.
push even more, right? Like there's so many different ways to deliver a punch, but most people would say, yeah, but there's only so many punches. Correct. But how you do it, unlimited, right? This is where, when people place limits on themselves, that I don't. And I always said, like, everyone told me, like, well, everyone has a breaking point. I was like, I don't. Now, of course, we all do, and I've hit a breaking point many times throughout my life. But in my mindset, I was like, I don't have a breaking point. Now, of course, I go to train, let's say for a tournament, and like you can only train for so long, then you just exhaust yourself, right? But my mindset was always, I can just keep going. It just doesn't make sense
Mhm.
to. Like, I'm not going to benefit anymore, right? And so I'm going to cut it here because I do need to go to sleep. I used to train late at night after work. And so that was just always my mindset. So I brought that mindset to creativity. And now later stages of my career, then unlimited, right, mindset and endless possibilities is what allows me to do the work and create the results that I do, because most people, they're limited. And even though we all are, it's just not in my mindset to allow the walls and the blocks to stop me. That makes sense.
Hmm. So are you still part of the creative, I guess, structure or the creativity behind XMA weapons that involve with Sentry? Or has that kind of just moved on? Is that
Yeah. What so the XMA brand, so everybody knows, I created the brand and the program. Century, in order to do the deal, Century, Mike Dillard, it made sense for him to own the brand. He wasn't going to sink $1 million into just the start and the development of the brand over the course of 3 years without owning it. And for me, it was like, well, this is what I wanted to do. They offered to promote my seminars. Like, I don't want to do seminars. I want to create a program. But here's what it's going to cost. Here's like, I want products, I want program, I want everything. And they're like, okay, let's do it. But like, here's how we're going to do it. So I had my royalties and everything, my agreement, and that survives the end of the programming. Our products live on. Many people don't know, even with all of the other weapons products and specialty products that they have, the XMA line of weapons is still outsells all the other weapons, which is awesome.
do you still
So it
do you still collect a royalty from that, or did that expire at some point, or is that forever thing?
No, so my royalty stands. It's for a lifetime, and then I just
That's
pass
awesome.
that on to my kids. So and I work closely with Century and Eldon Woods over there in the merchandising department when it comes to new development, but it's not a priority because it's not one of their top selling products, and it takes time to develop new products. So we're always constantly looking at different items that we can then brand XMA, but it has to make sense. Also, then, it is the premier line, the most expensive line of weapons products, that Century carries. So it's a limited assortment, right? It's not, they have the good, better, best levels, always 3 levels. So they're going to sell the most of the good level. That's the least expensive, right? Entry level. And then you've got the better. They're going to sell more of those than the best. But the best, the most expensive, it's not for most people, right? So it's more of a specialty product. So one of the things that we're looking to bring back is, well, I can't say, but there is a product we're looking to bring back. And when we figure it out, it just has to be safe. And we haven't found a way to make it completely safe. And that's one of the things that Century's known for is, their R&D, and, you can, it's not like buying a weapon online, from China. You don't know if the pin's going to fly out and the blade's going to, go into the audience at a demo. Like, yeah, if Century sells it, it's because they've already tested it. Like, they don't have those kind of problems normally.
Mm.
Um, yeah, so
So
chucks
being
aren't like coming
involved,
apart, and
that makes sense. So being
yeah.
involved in the martial arts industry for so long, and XMA being the premier, almost like the luxury, but also performative brand, right? That's like super cool and
Mhm.
everyone wants. And part of XMA's branding, from what I remember as a kid, was just like it was just cool, it was flashy, right? It just wasn't like a regular kata, right? It was like a whole. There was definitely like really strong branding behind it. So my
Mhm.
question is, since you've been out of teaching in a regular school, right? Because you got rid of that before COVID, now you're in a whole different industry,
Mhm.
and in Hollywood, where Hollywood is where they create cool, right? Like, where do you think the trend is in martial arts now? Because it seems to me that the trend from a popularity, especially between styles, has changed, right? Like it used to be,
Mhm.
a lot of celebrities would do karate, right? Like whether it was like, Elvis or Steven Seagal or whoever. And now celebrities like, Zuckerberg and, UFC in general, they're doing jujitsu, right?
Yep.
And it seems that like that popularity has changed. So what is your thoughts on that? Do you feel like more traditional brands are fading and more like jujitsu, maybe Muay Thai are gaining in popularity? Like, where do you see that going?
So it's interesting, but I need you to correct me if I'm wrong. Your sense of traditional martial arts is based in the Japanese, like karate, taekwondo arts versus, I mean, Brazilian jiu-jitsu is traditional for Brazil,
It is traditional,
right?
yeah, but it's new in the U.S., right? Over the last
Okay,
30 years or something. Yeah,
right.
yeah, you're right. I mean,
Because
jiu-jitsu is definitely traditional, but I'm thinking more like traditional in the U.S., like you said,
okay,
taekwondo, karate, yes, Shotokan, stuff like that.
okay,
Yeah,
because I was born in Thailand, so when you say Muay Thai, it's like, but that is the art
most
of Thai
traditional.
people,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
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 right.
yeah, yeah,
So,
yeah.
okay, so I love all martial arts, and so whatever is popular is going to resonate with especially celebrity and high-end clientele. MMA, jiu-jitsu is and has been at the peak because of UFC, because of one fighting championship, right? And so all around the world, you've got these hardcore fighting arts, the grappling, the jiu-jitsu, the judo guys, you've got the Muay Thai guys, you've got the strikers, right? And then it just becomes personal preference. It's like when you see, because I used to always watch him on, first it was Saved by the Bell, and then I think Extra, Mario Lopez, right? And I actually doubled him for an episode of this new show recently. So Mario Lopez, right? Like he's in his mid, looks fantastic, super ripped. He does jujitsu. Well, it's not just Latinos that are going to look at this guy and go, dude, like I should do that martial art, right? Just anyone in their 40s looks at this guy. He's on TV all the time. He's ripped and he does jujitsu. Well, that's cool, right? Good looking guy, super charismatic. He's on TV all the time. People like him and he likes jujitsu, right? Well, if he does it, like it's just by association, right? And then also proximity. People love proximity. It's like, well, yeah, one of my favorite actors, he does jujitsu. I do jujitsu, right? And they love proximity. There's nothing wrong with that. What I feel like is that the people that do jujitsu are are the there's the people that are insecure and they want to look and act tough. They're the people that wrestled before as a kid, or they just like they're tactile people. They need touch, right? I was never like that. I did so good in sparring as a junior competitor because I hated to get hit in the face. So I was super fast, right? And that was one of the main reasons why I was so good. And then I could kick really well. So I used that to my advantage. But one of my motivations was just not to get hit. It wasn't to score, it was to not get hit. So most of my techniques were defensive side kick or side hook kick because I had great kicks from forms. Then you get now this wave of Cobra Kai martial arts, right? So traditional karate. And then you see, because so many of my students from the Ralph Macchio, Cholo, Tanner Buchanan doubles, these are a lot of my guys, right? So Matt Mullins, Craig Henningsen, and then my instructor, I think they had 12 to 14 of our guys doing stunts the last 2 or 3 seasons. And the fight coordinator Don Lee, fantastic martial artist. I did a commercial with him back in the day, and we grew up in the stunt industry together. Ken Bearfield, the stunt coordinator now, and even the previous one, Hiro Koda, the stunt coordinator for season I think 2, 3, and also from Stranger Things, Hiro Koda. We used to compete against each other and with each other on the Metro All Stars team when we were kids, and then early on in the first 2 years of adult competing. And then he became the stunt coordinator for Cobra Kai. So it's like, it's really amazing that, there's a whole new generation of kids and young adults, as well as the ones that were younger when we saw the first four Karate Kids films growing up, that are part of this Cobra Kai demographic. So it's young and old, and those people are going to gravitate to karate. I think overall, it depends. It depends on where you're at, right? It's like if you grew up in a football family, you're probably watching football, right? You're probably going to, if you're a boy, you're playing football, right? If you grew up in a baseball family, you're probably playing baseball, right? Girls are playing softball, right? If your parents played tennis, you're probably at the country club, swinging the racket, right? So what I love is that now instead of well, I don't think I would like karate or taekwondo. What I love is that now there's more options available. It's like now there's a buffet when there was only McDonald's and a Burger King, right? It's now you can get, depending on where you live, Chick-fil-A, In-N-Out Burger if you're in, California, Sonic, and there's all kinds of options now for people's interests. But in the end, martial arts is great for everybody, right? Whether you're doing Tai Chi, Qigong, or you're doing a hard style, or you're doing MMA, like it's great for everybody.
So do you think Cobra Kai has a positive impact in the martial arts industry overall?
I don't know. What I know is that the saying that any press is good press, martial arts through Cobra Kai, it's back in the conversation, right? And now, parents know that, like, I mean, I have two clients right now. The parents, they were so excited about Cobra Kai, and then they watched a couple episodes. They're like, oh, okay, this is not appropriate for my 11-year-olds. And some 9-year-olds are watching Cobra Kai, and it's fine for those families, right? It's just like they let their kids watch horror films and rated R films too. But that's not everybody. So the fact that karate is back in the conversation. I mean, when you're the number one show on Netflix, it's a water cooler conversation type of thing, right?
Mhm.
Not for everybody, but for the moment. Like if you're a fan and you're a martial artist or not a martial artist, you're a fan and you're like you into Cobra Kai and someone's like, oh yeah, I totally binge watch all 4 seasons, right? I can't wait for the next one. Or I already watched all this, the new season that just dropped. It's like done. Then it's like you've got instant camaraderie just because of that. So it's not, there will never be a perfect storyline and wholesome type of programming for martial arts school owners, that they want these perfect stories with no drama, and we never want to show martial arts in a bad light. But that's just not true, and it's not sellable. You cannot sell a story that doesn't have drama and conflict.
Mhm.
So, and it's like, it's better to teach lessons of fairness, of camaraderie, of competition with martial arts involved, as far as I'm concerned, than more of the same stuff that we've seen for decades with football and baseball. Like those stories have been done, right? I want to see more stories with martial arts at the root. And this way, the transformation, right? The core values, the life skills, the lessons that are learned, it's because of martial arts, not because of the football coach teaching a lesson to the kids because it came from athletics. We have tons of those, and there will always be those stories. For me, I want to push, promote, finance, and produce films that have martial art based content where the student instructor relationship, the mentor the student relationship is interwoven into the fabric of the story.
So if you're a martial arts business owner and like you obviously love storytelling and you are a creative, I think one of the things that martial arts school owners generally suck at is telling stories. Okay, because they're so impactful in what they do every single day, how they help kids and adults build confidence and discipline and respect. And they'll say it in their ads on Facebook, and they might talk about it sometimes, and it'll happen, but they're not good at like really promoting it. Actually, they're not good at storytelling, right? So, from a creative standpoint, from someone who's been in the industry and had a successful school for a decade, and now you're on the outside doing storytelling professionally, what do you think a school owner can do to better tell the stories of their students to promote their school?
It's a great question, and this is what I used to train people on. So, with anything in business, you should have a system. If you don't have a system, then there's no structure, right? But once you have a system and you start practicing and executing the system, then everything that is uncomfortable eventually becomes comfortable, right? When it's
Sure.
difficult and you don't know how to do it, then you learn. So, the reason why martial artists typically don't do it is because martial artists are typically introverted, shy, right? Personalities. So many people think that I'm this outgoing, extroverted personality. You see me in front of 3,000 people at an industry event and I'm on stage with a mic or I'm teaching and super dynamic. But I'm the same. Shy, introverted by nature. I have extroverted tendencies, but the reason why I was able to develop my voice, the ability to speak and teach, is because I wanted to help people. So my desire to help and teach overpowered my insecurities. And my instructor, Sensei Sharkey, said one time he hit me because there was a student that was crying. It was just too hard for them, and I pushed them too hard. And he hit me in the arm. He's like, "What are you doing?" I was like, "What?" He's like, "Can you see that your student is crying?" And I was like, "Yeah." But I was kind of like frozen, like I didn't know what to do. And he's like, "Well, either you think that you're going to get in trouble because you made him cry, or you focus on helping him." And he just like looked at me. I was like, "Oh, I guess I should go help him."
Mhm.
And that was the beginning. So then afterwards, day's done. I'm sitting in the office with him, and he's like, you can't just stand there while people are hurting like that. Like, we're here to help them, right? As long as you focus on helping them, you'll be okay, right? Like, just help them with whatever they need. Ask them, are you okay? What can I do? How can I help you? So that was his system. It's very simple, right? Just go ask what you can do. Then, then in terms of telling stories, every instructor has stories, great stories. They just don't know how to tell it. They don't practice it. So we have a system: write it, revise it, practice it, film it. We do this with actors. I do this with business people when they need to go pitch to their bosses, or they need to go give presentations, or they have to go out for financing. Or I've got some studio executives, directors that I work with, and they got to pitch themselves to other executives. Like, what are your chances if you just wing it? What are your chances if the ideas are up here, but you didn't actually organize them? Because once you actually talk it through and you put it out there, then you realize, wait, maybe I could have said that better. That didn't really make sense. So when you write it, you see it. And then when you say it, you hear it. And that's the key, to involve all the senses, right? So you think it, you feel it, you write it, you see it, you say it, and then you hear it. It's like you use everything. And then you can revise it, put it in the best order possible according to the priorities and what your goal is. You practice it, you listen to it. And when you practice it, then you get really good at it. But you can't get really good at delivery and execution of whatever you're going to say without practicing. So no wonder why martial arts school owners and instructors aren't good at telling stories. Is because they never practiced it, right? You start with this. Here's the best way to start. Even if you don't want to write it, because many people are like, "Oh, I'm not going to do that." Okay, fine. So just go like this: personal story, personal story. This is how we train instructors. Okay. So then just tell us one simple thing that you may have learned, right? Or what's your favorite technique? "Oh, my favorite technique, the Superman punch." That's a personal story. Can you expand on that? "Oh yeah, because I saw Anthony Pettis in the UFC. I saw him do this Superman punch after he did the kick, off the cage. It was so cool." Personal story. Now, can you just tell that story to your class later today? Right? And instead of saying, "Okay, we're going to do the Superman punch, it looks like this," when you say, "This is one of my favorite moves, I saw this on TV," right? Now it just gives a little bit more flavor, right? I don't know about you, but I like flavorful food, right? I like ethnic food. I can't just eat grilled chicken breasts. Like, I've got to have the Thai version. I got to have the Cajun version. I got to have the teriyaki version. Like, I need flavor in my food, but I need flavor in my life too. So that's where I equate that to. We all understand this, but then we get blindsided, and walls get thrown up as instructors, because then there's so many eyes on us, right? And instead of understanding the nature and the psychology of the people that we're talking to and trying to reach, then we're worried about what parents are going to say. We're worried about dealing with this kid or that problem. And so this is where the training comes in. And one of the best things that you can do is just practice, right? Start with your
Yeah.
favorite punch, your favorite kick, right? Your favorite tournament, or your favorite event. Maybe you did a demo, maybe your favorite board break, maybe it was your favorite sparring match, your favorite self-defense technique. It can be your favorite or your worst. It could be the time that you struggled the most and what you learned from it. So valuable, right? But these are some simple guidelines. What was the best thing you ever did in martial arts? What's the worst thing you ever endured but learned from it, right? When you win, you win. When you lose unless you learn. If you lose, then you learn and you're much better for it. So those are just some simple guidelines to get started. From there, it's like I could speak for and do a whole week. I've done a whole weekend training on training instructors how to speak, right? Like public speakers, but from the martial art mentor, life skills, leadership training perspective, right? Trigger words, stories, leadership tactics, all of these things, drills, and then how to deliver them. So this way they can keep it fun and exciting and not exhaust themselves.
Even the most simple idea of that, just practicing it, is so obvious when people don't do it, right? It's like, oh,
Yeah.
you'll practice a kata 10,000 times before a tournament, but now you get to tell a story to a
Mm-hmm.
bunch of people who never told it before, and you've
Yeah.
never said it out loud, and you think you're going to be good at it when you say it out loud in front of everyone, or it's going to be bad, and you're going to trip over it, and then you're not going to want to do it again, or
Yeah.
you're just uncomfortable doing it. And I have a couple stories that if have been one of my students, or if you watch any of my videos, right, like I've told 1,000 times, like
Mm-hmm.
especially my first martial arts class. Like I've told it so many times, and every time I tell it, there's usually one little thing I'm like, oh, yeah, cool, I can say it better this way, or like
Yeah.
I could use this detail, I can move my hands differently when I say this one part. And I think people are also nervous that their listeners are going to get bored, or
Right.
not going to be entertained if they hear it more than once. But A, people forget. And B,
Mm-hmm.
like how many times you watch the same episode of a TV show and still enjoyed it? Right? Like, I don't know.
Absolutely.
I can't tell you how many episodes I've watched of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, like over and over again. Right. But I still
Mm-hmm.
do it. So
Yeah.
I'm really glad you pointed that out, because I think people need more of that. So for you
Mm-hmm.
as an actor and a producer now, who do you look to for advice for you personally? Like, who's your mentor in the production world, the film world?
So I have many different, because I'm so close. I'm literally in the building with David Leitch and Kelly McCormick, and they've been not only just great influences and inspiration through the films that they're producing, but I'm also involved working with members of their team on the production side, the development side, as well as the stunt side. So it's such a mix that has been incredible. Rick and Andy Nathanson, two of my original mentors when I first came down, they managed me when I was very young and first started out in Hollywood. He was the line producer for Dragon, the Bruce Lee story, co-producer, line producer, and he also did a slew of the Van Damme movies of the '90s. So he was really, really big at the time, in status and influence, and they just took me under their wing, and even to this day is a great resource for me, a trusted resource that I know that they'll just tell me straight like it is, and not not BS anything. I sent one script to them and they're like, this is crazy, like why would you do this? And basically slammed the idea of it, not because it wasn't that good. The idea was good. The execution of the script needed work, but it was just a difficult film to make. And like for one of your first films, like you're trying to take on this massive project and everything is more difficult at this budget level. And like, why would you do that? And it was like, yeah, okay, well, I can focus my energies on something that is going to be easier, faster to move along, or get sucked into this major, major project that is just as risky as the rest. And there were no indications at the time that that one would pan out sooner, faster, or better than any of the other. So it
Mm,
was just like a huge time suck for me. So
yeah,
quickly shifted gears. So, those are just a couple to name the few.
cool.
We have some really good people around us.
Yeah, and if you don't have a mentor, what I always tell people is like, you just pay a dummy tax. And a dummy
Mm-hmm.
tax is going to be energy, it's going to be money, it's going to be time. And dummy tax is always more expensive than just getting either A, paying a coach or someone to help you, or B, just finding a mentor who's actually going to invest in you,
Mm-hmm.
because you're going to avoid a lot of those mistakes. Some mistakes you just have to learn, I think, just like doing it yourself. Like there's just something you literally just have to learn, right?
Mm-hmm.
But there's other things that you can just avoid, and the dummy tax is always more expensive. So I want to ask you a couple questions about it's like kind of like rapid fire questions about yourself
Mhm.
and recommendations you have. So, first one is what's one skill you think you need to upgrade you to take your career to the next level? Like if you could upgrade one area in your life and you know this one area, if you upgrade this and make all the difference, what would that be for you?
In my life or
Yeah.
in general for
Yeah.
people?
Your life. No, your life.
Upgrade. Well, so much for rapid fire. Okay, so let me talk myself through this. I'm constantly upgrading. I'm constantly pushing to that next level in everything to maximize my opportunities, my time, my days, my schedule. So, a film financing mentor. That's what I
Mm.
need.
So if you learn how to do film financing, is that your next skill? Then you think that would take you to the next level if you upgrade that skill.
Not that I need to learn it. I need to better understand and connect with the people. So instead of relying on a studio to pick up a project, if I want, we're exploring independent financing for two of our projects. It can be a more difficult route, but it can be a more lucrative direction
Mm.
depending on how you
Mm.
do it. So depends on what budget range you're in. And so we want to explore, and that is one thing that I could use right now.
Cool. All right, next one. What's one business book or self-development book you'd recommend that's changed your life more than anything else?
Too many. Just Google the top, 100
No, no,
business
no. Tell
books,
us
right?
yours. Yeah, tell us yours.
Okay. Relentless by Tim S. Grover. Not just because
Tim
I
McCormick.
grew up in Chicago in the heyday of the Bulls and Michael Jordan, but there's just too many great things that came of that book. I'll say one of the standouts is Michael Jordan's first and only trainer. How did that happen? From a guy who never trained professional athletes before, he became Jordan's only personal trainer and went on to do, Kobe Bryant and many of the greats.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
essentially, and he speaks now and he's got his books and his program. But what I love about it is he clearly defined in a way with this term a cleaner versus a closer and a cooler that resonated with me and all my athletes and clients, because in the end it is about having a mindset and it's not about balance. I never felt balanced. We would counterbalance, right? You spend time here, focusing on this, and then you got to switch over here, but it's not like never balance. Like you never want to be at zero anyway, right? So this idea of counterbalance was really key, and it was okay. Like he made it okay in my mind many years later that cleaners sacrifice for the good of the team, for the good for themselves, and they're relentless. Like they just don't stop, and they never stop. It's never enough. Once you accomplish something, you're on to the next. Now, I will not sacrifice the things that I did before. I have a family and very much enjoy my family and my wife, and so I won't. I'm not a cleaner now. I was back then, and that was like me for 20 years. But absolutely, I mean, I don't know how many times I've listened to it. Probably like 7 to 8 times at least in the last couple years. And I always go back, especially when I want to find a passage or a chapter for a client. Then I'll be like, here, this one, just listen to this one today.
sure.
So love it.
Cool. All right, next one. This is not rapid fire, but this is just one that I thought was interesting. So tell me a story about working in film or Hollywood that others would be jealous about or could not believe.
That's easy. So I've got so many. Now I'm like, they're all popping into my head. I'll give you two
Okay.
really cool ones. Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm on set. I won't say the name of the film yet. So I'm on set. You get me all dressed up in wardrobe, and I've got this, funny looking silver suit. I'm like a security guard. I've got a rifle. I've got this hat. Stunts, okay, stunt role. And so I go to set, and we walk through what we're gonna do, and then the star, the number two of the film, she was up and coming at the time. She's in her trailer. They had someone else go through the motions of everything that we were doing. And then she comes to set and introduces herself, and everyone says hi or whatever. Shake her hand. She's super pleasant. So then we go behind this door. So we're waiting backstage, and we enter through this door. So we're like, like peeking through, like, nobody's, saying, okay, ready, everybody, cameras rolling, like nothing. So 5 minutes go by, 10 minutes go by. We're just talking, how did it go? How'd you get your start? I grew up singing, and, my mom, took us to church. I sang in the choir, and, I'm like, just having a conversation. I did martial arts. I grew up going to tournaments and, won some titles. And here I am doing stunts and acting. And well, it, I don't know, 40 minutes, 50 minutes later, an hour later, it's our turn to go. Okay, picture's up. And so we do our scene a couple times, and that was it, and then never saw her again. The film was Austin Powers Gold member. The number 2 lead actress next to Mike Myers was Beyonce Knowles. And so cool. Can you imagine, okay? Can you imagine? She comes from Destiny's Child, okay? And she's not the Beyonce we know today. And she introduces herself as Beyonce. I was like, oh, she's so lovely. It was so nice. Spent an hour backstage with Beyonce. And then, of course, in the scene, if you watch the movie, she knocks me out. And she goes, Shazam, right? There was a bunch of other stuff. It wound up getting cut. So it's actually very quick in the movie that happens. But there was a whole little fight thing. But basically, she taps me on the shoulder, knocks me out. And, little did I know that she would become the Beyonce. So it was really cool to see her at that stage in her career, because she was very popular. I just didn't know a lot about her, and certainly not the megastar that she is today. So that was very cool. And then, the second one that stands out is being on set for Matrix 4 Resurrections. Got to reconnect with tons of martial artists after many years, but I'm there with my son Gage, and he was 12 at the time, and he plays one of Trinity's sons, Carrie Ann Moss's kids. There's 2 of them, and he was the younger son. And we're sitting on set, and Keanu walks by. Okay, so Keanu Reeves on the set of Matrix. He's Neo, right? He walks by, and a bunch of the crew people that were just kind of sitting around chit-chatting, they're like, shit, it's John Wick. I was like,
nice.
What? I was like, no, that's Neo. They're like, it's John fucking Wick, man. Like, it's so interesting how we're literally on the set of Matrix, right? It's what made him, it shot him into the stratosphere of stardom, right?
Yeah.
With the character Neo. But yet he is so strong as a character, and the franchise has done such a great job, the Wick franchise, of building the persona of John Wick, that even on the set of Matrix, people couldn't see him as Neo. Now, not everybody. It was just like, there were just a couple guys, but it was just like, it hit me. I was like, no, that's Neo. And they're just like, no, that's John fucking Wick, man.
Yeah.
And it was just
that
so
might be
funny
an age thing. It also could be an age thing, I'm assuming, right? If they were like,
well, they weren't. I would say they were probably like in their 30s. It wasn't like they were early 20s. But who knows?
Okay.
Who knows? It's just like the power of movies, right? And the power of branding and characters. And I love it all. I'm not too critical about films. I just love the entertainment aspect of it. But that was cool to be known. It's like, you're lucky if you're known as one thing, right? One character.
Yeah.
But to be known for so many different ones, and especially iconic ones like that, it's like amazing. Like, that's why Keanu's, that's why he's so beloved, right?
Yeah, that's amazing. I love that. All right, 2 more. These ones will be quick. First one is, what's your favorite snack?
So I snack on really healthy things. It's like avocado and beets and
but are you eating an avocado like an apple, or how are you eating? You're not eating a beet like an apple. How are you doing it?
No, I just normally chop it up, and it goes, like avocado, olive oil, beets, and sometimes sweet potatoes, and that's it. But okay, you want to that's what I normally eat. But
no, that's fine. That's a good answer. A Funyuns guy.
Okay. I grew up driving to tournaments with my instructor. We would drive everywhere. Florida, 30-hour drives all over the country except for California. So I'm a beef jerky guy. and
Yeah.
a Funyuns a potato chip guy. That's for sure.
Okay. Okay.
So,
All
but it's
right.
not like
Cool.
I don't have that. Like it's not on the daily.
Yeah, yeah, no, of course, right? Like I
Yeah.
would say like my version, my healthy version of like a snack would be edamame because I can eat a ton of them, and
Mm.
it's just like
Mm-hmm.
edamame beans. Like I like the
Yeah.
salt, but if I'm going like I don't care about this afternoon whatsoever, then I'm gonna eat like 1,000 cheese curls, which is rare, right? We're
Yeah.
talking about maybe twice a year, but like that's what I'm gonna go hard on. Okay, next one. Would you rather spend 1 year at the North Pole or 2 years in the Sahara Desert?
I was born in the jungle of Thailand. It's very hot and humid there. I don't like the humidity, but I'm okay with the dry heat. I definitely don't like the cold. Grew up in Chicago. I'm not about the cold. Where does this come from? Where does this come from?
It's just for entertainment, honestly. I want to see where you went.
1 year in the north, 1 year in the north, two in the south. Frostbite and death from cold or death from starvation or
Maybe
heat
you could survive.
exposure.
Why are you assuming you're gonna die? Why don't you just
Why
survive
did
it?
my mind
Yeah.
why did my mind go there? Because we have 80,000 thoughts a day. Over 70% are negative, and 85% are repetitive. That's why.
Yeah. But you could do
um
anything. You said it earlier, right? Like you have a strong mind. You're gonna survive. Which one are you more likely? Which
I'm
one is
gonna
gonna be
I'm
less
gonna
painful to
I'm
survive?
gonna go I'm gonna go ski in the snow, and I'm gonna go get a tan in the desert. That's it. That's what I would do.
All right. All right. Well, I'm gonna do one more actually. What job would you not do, even if you got $1 million a month?
What job would I not do? Anything I didn't like.
Anything
Anything
you
that
didn't
didn't
like.
fulfill me. Particularly anything that is not helpful to other people. But if it was helpful to other people and I didn't like it, I'd probably do it.
Mm, cool. Good answer. Well, thank you so much for coming on here. If someone wants to
Yeah.
reach out to you and they want either coaching help or to follow you online or just keep tabs on you, how do they find you?
You can find me on social media. Just type in my name, Mike Chat. Instagram, Mike Chat XMA. Facebook, it's my full last name, Chaturanta. But if you do a search, Mike Chat XMA, bunch of stuff will come up. I'll give you my email, xmachat@gmail.com. That's the easiest way, direct, and you're not
Cool.
going to get an
Thank you.
automated response.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on here. My name is Matthew Brenner. If you have questions and you want to reach out to me, you can find me at blackbeltbrenner1 on Instagram, or you can email me, Matthew@doubleyourdojo.com. Thanks.
Awesome. Thank you.